Hi there, welcome to another episode of Small Astrology, where we look into the birth chart placements of the children and see how we can best raise them with all of the information we can possibly have. This is part one, where we are looking at their sun signs, and we are up to Libra today. So let's have a look at the small Libra sun. Now, Libra is I balance energy. It is a cardinal air sign, and this will give you a child that is seemingly simple but also complex all at the same time. These children are often very suspicious but also very vulnerable and very tender. They do tend to lack determination, and in their infancy, they are quite easy to take care of. They are unpretentious and rarely crying, rarely, looking for that excess of attention. They do have a strong attraction to beautiful things, and they are needing desperately of a warm family atmosphere, cozy house, and somewhere they can hide from the hardships and relax peacefully. Quality sleep is very important for a Libra, a lot more than the other signs, because they do quickly get tired, even though they'll rarely complain about it and they will rarely demand your attention. Now, they are happy to communicate with peers and adults, and they do so just as if they were house guests. Sometimes it is difficult for a Libra to understand the balance and harmony of life, because they really do push to see both sides of every argument, of every situation. Now, this child really does like to be perfect, particularly in a feminine energy. They are very unlikely to want to climb trees and fight. They tend to head more towards the artistic art world. Their voices tend to be very quiet and their behavior tends to be very calm. Now, these are children that almost always have a musical talent. And from the age of around 3, they can really start learning music and dancing. They are predisposed to that sort of learning. They're very polite, very tidy. They are not afraid to speak with adults, and their character does contain a lot of softness, a lot of poise, and a lot of really wanting to comply with the situation. They are that balance searching child, so they do want to keep people happy. Now, Libra children can come off as quite lazy, because they don't really have the same sort of enthusiasm and determination as other children. As well as that, they do tend to be very indecisive, because they worry that any decision they make could end up offending someone or hurting someone's feelings. They need to be taught masculine energy qualities because of this. So, in order for them to learn the masculine energy qualities of being direct, of being able to take action and make decisions and lead, they do need somebody in their life who does embody those masculine qualities, so that they can learn it from a point of seeing the benefits. That's very important for a Libra child as well. They're not the sort of child that you can just tell the benefits to. They really need to have an example of what those benefits are. Now, they will very rarely worry the parents with hysterics, with, whims of what they need. And they do take offense, even though it doesn't appear so on the outside. They do take that offense very deeply in their hearts. And it can take a while for that to break free. And it often does break free, as does all our repressed energy in the opposite end of that Libra axis, which is Aries energy. So it often comes out in a lot of fire. They need to be accustomed to responsibility, to being independent, or they can grow up embodying this lazy energy that comes from this indecisive behavior. Now, they do have a very good intuition, a Libra child. All Libras do. And they do like to have a heart-to-heart conversation with people. And from these conversations, they do intuitively learn a lot of things. Now, their sympathy in a child can actually be quite superficial, because their primitive energy is about judging people and weighing them on the good evil scales. Is it good? Is it bad? Are they good? Are they evil? And so it can lead to that kind of sympathy being superficial because they don't look a lot. They don't look deeply into what's going on. They just are taking the information they are given and as much information as they are given. They love to talk. They love to argue. It is mostly just talk, even when they are arguing. They are often just looking for the other side of the argument when they come across as arguing. They often just like to talk through both sides in order to get an understanding of what is going on. Now, the reason they do like to talk is because their heads are very full of ideas. And without the courage to put these ideas into action, they need to talk through them. And again, that courage comes from that indecisiveness of not wanting to upset anyone, not wanting to offend anyone, that sort of people-pleasing need of a Libra. They are very cunning, however, and with this intuition, they do learn how to use flattery and manipulation to manipulate their parents a little. And they become lie detectors very early on because of this intuition. They do have a stubborn streak as well, and they can struggle to conform to other people's expectations. And they can be extremely sociable, but it has to be on their own terms. This is not the sort of child that you can tell what to do, because like all air sign children, they struggle with a temper. And at times they might even seem emotionally cut off because they don't want to offend anyone and they do struggle with their temper. And this withdrawal from it is just a testament to that over emotional behavior that they are repressing, and it does often get confused. Libras are not the sort of children who do half of anything. They like to go all in when they let it out. Now, when it comes to things like pocket money, you do need to be very careful with a Libra, particularly in the primitive energy. They are very attracted to pretty shiny things, and they're not so much worrying about the everyday problem, the everyday needs, and they can just squander that pocket money. So do teach them about that. Now, the main enemy of a Libra child is stress, and this continues on into adulthood. And if you are a Libra yourself watching this, you know that I am correct. Now, as children, however, they do sometimes get mistaken for hypochondriacs. And this is very interesting because they get quite concerned when they are ill, when they don't feel right, when something feels wrong inside of their bodies. However, with stress being a really huge problem for a Libra child and with their heightened intuition, this concern is actually quite valid and it really should be looked into and it really should be supported, to be honest, because this sort of level of stress that a Libra child does deal with beneath the surface can escalate these seemingly nothing hypochondriac behaviors with whatever's going on, these illnesses. It can escalate them quite quickly into something a lot more serious. And there are a number of reasons for that. With this Libra energy, it does require a lot more rest and a lot more time to replenish their energy. They also have vulnerabilities of the kidneys and also their bladder as well. And there can be an addiction to sweets aligned with this energy. So we do need to take their concern for their illness very seriously, not to the point where we are rushing to the doctor, but just in a way that we are promoting a confidence in them understanding how their body feels, because they are very intuitive. And this often gets mistaken a lot in children, okay, as being a know-it-all. But we have to be aware that some children, particularly Libra, are very intuitive to their bodies, to the people around them, and to other people's emotional states, particularly in Libra, because they are always looking to balance the scales. They are always looking to people please and make sure that everyone is getting what they need, which does make them very intuitive to behaviors and emotions around them. Now, this is a very creative sign, ruled by Venus, loves beauty. And you need to be choosing classes that are artistic in nature if you want them to stay interested. Now, they tend to be very musical because they feel music a lot more than other people. It's another level for them, the way that they feel music. And if they find a genre that they gravitate toward, even as infants, you can use that to help calm them. You can use that to help shift their mood when they are in that state of stress. And as they grow up, you will find that there's often an instrument or something musical that they are very attracted to. It can be a number of things because of that indecisive state of being a Libra and being in that energy, and really help nurture this interest and be enthusiastic about listening to what they love about it, listening to them practice, listening to all of their attempts. Now, even though that might start off quite painful, Libra energy is very intelligent, very smart. So they do, once they put their mind to something they enjoy, they will become very good at it very quickly. They also have a talent to be very persuasive, again, coming from their ability to intuitively understand emotion and situations around them. And so they can make really great lawyers. They often are the sort of child that will become very interested in psychology and how the brain works. And this is because they are excellent analysts and they want to know the deep ins and outs of how people are feeling and what is going on. Now, they are teachers, but this is not teacher energy. A Libra will teach from a point of their own enjoyment. So it has to be something they are passionate about. And because they are the sort of energy that enjoys the journey, the teaching to somebody else is a positive energy thing for them. They get a lot out of that, the beauty of that. They teach primarily for their soul, because of that process of work being important, not the result. So you won't often find that even as a child, you might see that your Libra child is teaching, doing a lot of teaching. This is not the energy that will turn them into a teacher in any way. This is just their life path on a soul level, not on a career level, because it's not something that will really fulfill them on a career level. So yes, very necessary to encourage any creative interests in these children. Develop their talents, help them set goals to achieve things around their creative talents, because they really need to have a great love in their life, something they can do that makes them feel a lot of joy and pleasure. Libra and Venus are very attached to that energy. They will be great students nonetheless, even though they're not focused on the outcome. And they do have a great mind, so they can master any discipline they put their mind to. They're great performers. They will do an excellent job. They prefer small tasks though. Really large tasks, really cumbersome kind of tasks can scare them a little because of that needing to know the outcome and the journey being quite difficult. So just be aware of that when you are setting tasks, particularly for young children. Try and keep them short and sharp so they can learn very quickly the outcome. That's what they need to learn. They come into this world already enjoying the journey, okay? Now, when we are looking at these skills and talents, particularly of the creative side that they do enjoy, it is necessary to get them a good tutor to help them out, to help them overcome any of this lack of strength they have in caring about the result. And if we tap back onto that energy of being able to learn to manipulate the parents and being lie detectors, often the support of the parent wanting to show them that the result of continuing down this creative path is a good idea. If this is a child that has learnt manipulation and to become a lie detector very early on, the trust that they have in what you are saying about their future is lessened quite a bit. And so having an outside party, having someone again who can demonstrate the positives of the end result from a honest perspective is really important when it comes to nurturing these creative talents, okay? Now, they do need to be taught determination. Again, those masculine energy qualities. They need to be taught a strength of will and a search for harmony. They can become very entangled in self, in this which part of it is mine, because they are always trying to see both sides. They can often lose their own self and their own way of life because they are trying to maintain harmony for everybody. So really tapping into when they do have a love in their life, whether it be a musical instrument or something else artistic, really let them push into that and encourage that in any way that you can. Get them the tutors, get them the external teachers if you can, because a Libra without this kind of love that they can pour their energy into can feel a lot of emptiness, and they do use that to get out stress. So music, very important. Creative outlets, very important for a Libra. They need to be able to release their stress in these ways. They do need to be taught responsibility. They do need to be taught compromise, because this will help them build healthy relationships. Because often with that level of manipulation, that level of mediator energy that they do have, and the way that they present themselves and speak and are quite beautiful, there is, it makes it very difficult, because children will succumb to their will. They are very, very good at negotiating their way, okay? So teaching them about how to build really healthy relationships is very important. They often will have a lot of difficulties, particularly early on, and if they haven't been nurtured toward having their own opinion, they will find it quite difficult to state their own opinion in a confident way. And this can also lead to their friends being able to walk all over them. So even though they do have this tendency to be able to be the mediator and to be able to have people succumb to their influence, sometimes their influence is not even something they want themselves, and they can get into this pattern of not confidently knowing what they want, not confidently knowing how to state that opinion, and it can lead to all of these people walking all over them and trying to keep everyone else happy and forgetting about themselves. So that's part of your work as raising a Libra. And also your job will need to include teaching them in a gentle way that occasionally disagreements are natural, that sometimes they are an unavoidable part of life, and really help them build that self-confidence and help them realize that being opinionated and assertive is not the same as being offensive, that it is okay to have an opinion that no one agrees with, that is okay to be assertive about your own needs, and other people might not like it, but that doesn't mean that you are being offensive. That doesn't mean that you are making somebody else feel bad. It's very important to teach that to a Libra child. Now, you cannot shout at this child. You cannot. Now, I am from the age group of children that were shouted at, because our parents did not know a lot of this emotional intelligence that we know now. But we can't shout at a Libra child. It really closes them off. Their soul is very fragile and very delicate, and they take this on in a completely different way than a lot of other children, particularly fire signs. Fire signs kind of absorb that kind of energy. Air signs, when you're shouting at them, and some earth signs, they really will close up because of this fragile nature of their soul. Now, they just want to get along with everyone. And so arguments do upset them. Arguments that they see, arguments that they are part of. So if you are a particularly noisy and expressive family, this little Libra will have to learn how to make themselves heard. And this can be very difficult for a Libra child. And it can often result in them completely closing up and withdrawing from the family environment, because they don't know how to make themselves heard as part of the family. Now, they are very easily able to see the right and wrong side of anything. And this makes them extremely uncomfortable with real conflict. So while it is normal to have occasional disagreements with your spouse, with your close family, adults, you need to be really careful if these things are happening around a Libra child, and you need to be very aware that on the outcome of that, which of course we know sometimes disagreements just happen and then in the end we all make up and everything is fine. It's very important to have a conversation with your Libra child who has been present in any of those moments, and make sure that they understand that you have made up and that everything is okay, because they will have already made their judgment calls on what they have seen. You also need to teach them to weigh up possible options for taking action calmly, for taking action without needing to be, in a moment of drama, for seeing it as something that they can take action through in a calm space, because of this idea of not wanting to upset anybody. And because of this temper that they can sometimes have, they often repress things to a point where then it rises up in temper. And so really teaching them some calming skills when they are taking action, when they do have to stand up for themselves, because they don't do that very often. And if they aren't taught these skills, they will see needing to stand up for themselves as a fight. So let them learn and analyze everything. Now, I know this can be annoying for a parent, but this is the sort of child who's going to want to know everything. And in their own lives, they're going to want to analyze all of their things, and they're going to want to be able to discard what they see as excess, unnecessary things that don't fit into the balance of their beauty. And this can be quite changeable because of that indecisive nature. So teach them about how to do that, how to do the proper analyzing of things. They will want to know, they're going to want to ask questions about those sorts of things. You also need to teach them about practicality and punctuality, okay? So this in terms of particularly financial literacy and how to say no to things. So it's how to say no to themselves in relation to being financially abundant and financially secure, and also how to say no to things when people ask things of them that they are not comfortable doing. Because of this people-pleasing nature and this fear of upsetting and offending people, they do find it very difficult to say no. So keep that in mind, particularly when they are quite young and you are asking them to do things. Make sure you are checking in with yourself whether that is a non-negotiable, like put your seatbelt on, or whether that is something that can be negotiated, like go and sit on grandma's knee. Because we need to be teaching them that they are confident in saying no to something that makes them uncomfortable, while at the same time teaching them obviously things like safety are non-negotiable. So letting them say no to things that are negotiable is very important, and it is really important to respond to that confidently and to respond to that in a way that you are praising them for that. Like, you want to be saying, thank you for letting me know that that makes you uncomfortable. That is the sort of energy that you need to put into them when they are learning to say no. And they also need to be taught how to calmly perceive changes in life. Often Libra will have already perceived a situation. They'll have already had a plan on how to act. They have intuitively learnt everybody's tics and everybody's body language and how they look, and they will intuitively already know these things. And so going into a situation with a family or a bunch of friends or at school, they often come in quite controlled and quite ready to perform whichever version of them they think will be the least triggering for people, that will maintain balance. And so they need to be able to perceive changes calmly. They need to be able to have a trust in themselves, one, that they can say no, two, that they can stand up for their own beliefs without offending people, but also to be able to adapt to changes without feeling like it's completely out of their control. So they are this intuition and this learning to manipulate the parents early on and being a lie detector can cause this lack of confidence in the parents. So you also need to be aware of that. And it's very much about talking them through a lot of their feelings as children, talking them through a lot of their behaviors, and understanding that this manipulation behavior comes from a need to be perceived as someone who is good, to be praised for maintaining the balance, for being praised for bringing beauty, bringing creativity. They are looking for this validation, all right? When they start growing up, if they are not taught this kind of place of internal validation, it really emphasizes the Libra quality of needing external validation. And with this manipulation energy and this untrustworthy energy because of this lie detector, often there's a lot of times where you feel like you are validating these Libra children, but they don't really have any trust in what you have to say. And that again is when coming back to that idea of when you're supporting them creatively, it is necessary to have an external party for them to be able to see this. Now, there is another side to a Libra energy that is also very important to keep an eye on, and this is their mirroring quality. A Libra energy has a really amazing mirroring quality. And by that, I mean people who are projecting their insecurities, projecting their repressed emotions. When it comes to a Libra, because of how intuitive they often are at the other end of that. And they do need to be taught this self-confidence and this self-knowing and being able to make decisions from a sense of self, because often they can be convinced that it is their fault. You made me feel this way. You made me do this. And when it comes to that sort of energy in a child, it's really important that they know how to stand up for themselves, because if they don't, they will hear that with their craving for external validation. They will hear that as an attack on them, and that is something that they often will push down and push down and push down until it explodes. So being able to hear their opinions is very important. Being able to have conversations with them that talk about both sides of the argument evenly is also very important. It's incredibly important to understand that being the parent of a Libra child, them wanting to understand the other side of the argument is not them wanting a fight. It is simply that they need to understand both sides of the argument before they make an opinion, before they can settle into their own ideas and values around it. Okay? So, very beautiful, very soft energy in children, this Libra energy. It really needs to be nurtured in a self-confident way. Again, I'm talking about this idea of these birth charts being able to show us what these children come into the world inherently knowing. And it is our job as their guardians, as their parents, as people who are raising these small humans, to teach them the side that they didn't come into this world with, because that is what our mission is here. We don't need to be hammering home with a Libra this idea of understanding both sides of the argument. We don't need to teach them how to mediate. We don't need to teach them how to take other people's emotions into account with the way that they are acting. They already do that. We need to teach them to stand up for themselves. We need to teach them the opposite energy of Libra. We need to teach them the Aries energy. We need to teach them how to stand in I am, and to be able to confidently and calmly and with determination follow their own inner voice. It's very important for a Libra. So I hope that was helpful. Next week, we will be looking at Scorpio. I have also just put up a video which you might find helpful as well if you are an adult Libra watching this, about having a north or south node in Libra. Again, it's just a little bit more of an understanding about the energy of Libra that you can find across all of these videos. So please like and subscribe. Please go and check out my other videos, and please share this with as many other parents as you can. We are in an age where we have information about emotional intelligence and emotional growth, and these little babies that are coming into the world now are more emotionally intelligent than any of us could ever hope to be, particularly at their age. So the more information we can have on what's going on inside of them, on what's going on in their birth chart mapping, the better we are able to support their growth into adulthood. So never be afraid to relearn these things about yourself, about your children, about your friend. Never be afraid to become a completely different parent if that is what it takes. Always go into your own shadow and learn what that means for you. Our children are gifts of lessons for us. They are teaching us to be better people. That is why they are more emotionally intelligent than us. Okay? So until next time, please like and subscribe. Please check me out on Instagram and TikTok. And as always, stay weird.